I'm curious watching the scene in San Diego the last couple of nights. And look, last night, Mookie Betts' early home run shut him up, and then the game was never really in question after the mid-innings. What does the rest of baseball think? And I know what happened where, they didn't want to talk to Ken Rosenthal a couple of nights ago. But what does the rest of baseball think about the attitude, the swagger, everything that is Fernando Tatis and the Padres?
I feel like a few years ago, Tatis, there was this sort of, oh, this freaking guy, because he was so flashy. I really haven't heard a whole lot of that lately. Because I'm now writing the newsletter and I'm in the clubhouse less, I can't really give you like, oh, hey, finger on the pulse, what I've heard from players. I can tell you what I've heard from, I guess, other writers and on social media and just, myself watching the games. I love it.
Yeah,
I think
I
he
think
is
it's
one of the
fun.
most fun players to watch in the entire sport. And here's the thing, if you root for him and he hits that big home run and he, flips the bat, and that's not as uncommon as it used to be. There are a whole lot more players that are playing with a bit more flair and a bit more panache. It's wonderful. You cannot help but just be, exhilarated by that. If you root against him and you see that and you're like, oh, this guy, he did that to my team, then the next time he gets out, then you enjoy that a little bit more. Like, I think it is good for the game. I think it's so much fun. But I've always been, I think sports are they should be this outlet for that, whatever it is in the human DNA that has that sort of like overt celebration in us that you really don't get to do in everyday life, right? Like you can't get the parking spot that the other guy was trying to get into and you step out and you're just like, got you, eat it. Um, we keep that in real life. I think sports are a great outlet for that. I think they should allow more celebrations in football when guys score a touchdown. Bring the props back. It's entertaining. It's not hurting anybody. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I do think some of like the ridiculous chains in the dugout are exactly that, ridiculous. Just because
Sure.
Miami years ago did a turnover chain didn't mean that it had to take over all of both college and professional sports. I find some of those silly, but conversely, like Ohtani's emotion after the home run in game one, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't often
Swings the
see that
bat.
from him. Like that
No.
was amazing, and I am here for that. I'm here for the game 5 as well. I mean, obviously, what's on the line for the Padres, who everyone in San Diego hates, hates the whole LA everything, right? Although when you go to downtown San Diego, I think they try to make it more and more like Sunset, like you're going out in Hollywood. I'll just say that, but that's a whole different story there when it comes to bars and restaurants, and that's another story. But what's on the line here for the Dodgers potentially if they get knocked out, Levi, by the Padres again? I'll just leave it open. Then what?
Yeah, I mean, it's sure going to sting. They definitely spent like more money than anyone's ever spent this last offseason. And we just sort of expected, look, if they stay healthy, they're going to win 120 games. They didn't stay healthy. They got Kershaw on the injured list. They've got Glasnow on the injured list. Tony Gonsolin hasn't pitched for them at all. They've got Gavin Stone is on the injured. Like they have so many injured pitchers. Even two of the guys that are pitching for them, Walker Buehler and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, are coming back from injuries and don't really necessarily look like themselves. Yamamoto's throwing 3 or 4 innings a start, so there is a lot on the line. But also, if they lose, nobody on the team is going to want to make excuses. And frankly, they need to address like why are our pitchers getting hurt so much? It feels like it's a sport-wide epidemic, and maybe more so in LA than anywhere else. But if they lose, we had like one starting pitcher. Like, what do you want? On the flip side, if they lose and then Detroit wins, and Detroit also just has one starting pitcher, that's not going to look good for them. So, yeah, the stakes are high. The stakes are always high, but that's the thing with the playoffs. It's a crapshoot. Baseball is, you design your team with two goals in mind. One, design it for the marathon to get through this 162 game season and make the postseason. And then there's a little bit of a flip. It's less about depth and more about like we need our top tier of guys to be healthy and perform. And it's such a small sample size compared, especially in the wild card and division series round. It's a 5 game series. If you lose 3 games, which teams do all the time during the regular season, two far worse teams. I am of the opinion you could put the Colorado Rockies in a 5-game series, and once in a while they're gonna beat a team that's way, way better than them. It's just the nature of the playoffs.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.